welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I'm going to be tackling another Rotted request, this time coming from patron Twan Strong, who wanted me to watch and review the 2021 movie Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. For those of you new to the channel, I humbly offer my warmest welcome. I sit here and basically just talk about horror movies and offer movie reviews. A lot of stuff kind of goes under the radar, but sometimes when I get the request in, some more mainstream movies such as this one. Now, Twan's reasoning for this pick is, besides the anticipation leading up to the original release of Resident Evil the movie, which was good back then, I think they did a good job of representing the horror, action, and environment of the game series. I was pleasantly surprised. So here's the deal. I actually, I really should state really upfront here that I have never actually watched any of the Resident Evil movies. In fact, I have really not played any of the Resident Evil games. I'm midway on my secondary channel of Rotted Gaming through a Resident Evil 7 gameplay, but that's about my entire experience. I grew up in the PlayStation era, but I was more kind of aligned with the Silent Hill aspect of things rather than Resident Evil. So it's just a franchise that has kind of eluded me. In my mind, this actually kind of makes for an interesting viewpoint because in my estimation, video game movies can be good. A lot of it comes down to whether they have to lean on the source material and insider knowledge or whether it can stand on its own as a film franchise. So perhaps I can kind of lend a little bit of a unique perspective as somebody that is, well, seeing this with virgin eyes. Written and directed by Johannes Roberts, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City takes place in, well, Raccoon City. Welcome. So this is a purpose-built town surrounding a pharmaceutical company of the Umbrella Corporation as they are basically packing up, moving off to a new city, and just kind of the drifters and so forth are straggling behind as this transition is taking place. And unfortunately, something goes absolutely haywire when some of the experiments and drugs and so on and so forth that they are leaving behind causes the residents to go evil. People start turning into zombies. There's all sorts of monster mayhem. So this movie is largely surrounding the survivors of this as they fight their way to safety from either a mansion or a police precinct. So what did I think of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City? As a video game adaptation, it felt true and right. As a standalone movie, it felt a bit lackluster. So here's the deal. I really got the strong sense that this movie was very, very vibrant in its setting and its details and its aesthetics and the camera work and the mansion and the police precinct and everything was just spot on, pitch perfect, very, very visually impressive. The monsters, the zombies, the special effects, the action sequences, and the gore and so forth were all pretty darn decent, and I don't have any real complaints about any of it. The characters and the lore and the backstory, well, there's the parts that kind of fall down a little bit, and I wouldn't even say that it was a failure, it just felt a bit hollow, a bit rushed. And I think that that's something that be kind of expected, because we're talking about something that, from my understanding, and I could be wrong about this movie kind of combines the gameplay storyline elements of the first two games. So we're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of gameplay. And granted, it was PS1 style gameplay, so there's only so much storyline that can be fit in that. But nevertheless, we are talking about many, many hours of gameplay and the lore that is built around that being condensed into an hour and 47-minute long feature. And there's only so much of that that can go around and actually explaining who these characters are, what their struggles are, what their growth process is, this terrible night that they're going through, the conflict that arises therein, and telling all the lore of this entire city, this entire mansion, and all of this stuff going on as twists and turns are abound while still remaining coherent. It's just a big, big ask. And in my opinion, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is a pitch perfect example of why a lot of these franchises are getting away from movies and into series. As much as I really don't have any complaints about the setting and the visuals and so on, I just felt like as far as the characters and as far as the storyline and as far as the lore goes, it left me wanting more. And I think that more could have happened if it had actually been a 6 or 10 episode miniseries, that lore could have been fleshed out, that the characters could have been properly approached and addressed, and watch them grow and learn and try things and fail and learn from the failures and so on and so forth, that make up a decent story. As it was, everything about this, from the lore to the backstory to the characters, just felt very, very one-dimensional. And again, I think that that's just the inherent danger of taking upwards of 100 hours of content and condensing it down into a 1.5 to 2 hour long feature. You're just never going to get the same impact in terms of storytelling. That being said, if I'm in the mood for just some popcorn entertainment, not necessarily a film, but a flick, then I think that Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City scratches that itch very nicely. This was a lot of fun. If I'm just wanting to watch some gore, some gruesomeness, some explosions, and just have a madcap good time, yeah, I heartily recommend this one, and I'm very grateful to Twan for bringing it to my attention. Sometimes on a Friday night, we don't necessarily want the most dialogue-driven, intense character dramas. Instead, we just want to watch some zombies being run over by a tanker truck. And that's okay. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then I do recommend Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. Give it a whirl. I think that even if you're not a fan of the video game franchise, there is some fun to be had here. So thank you very much for watching this video. Take care of yourselves, and remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.